Well, I don't know how to describe this race. I've been up till since 7, and I'm hoping that it will end soon, but it just keeps going on. On FIA, I was like I was so scared at the end of it because I was like, oh shit, another FIA decision coming, and we'll have to wait 4,000 hours again before they make the decision. Or if they make the decision, this is going to change. So, do I even make a video? But here we are. They made a decision, which I am still feeling aggrieved about a little because I wanted Sainz to finish where he finished. But in a race which had 3 red flags, an absolute carnage of, you know how many, like, only 12 cars finished this race. That tells you something. 3 red flags, and an absolute mental, chaotic end of the race of not knowing what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what's going to change, and blah, blah, blah. Welcome to another episode of Sports with Monga, and we are reviewing what's just happened, the Formula 1 Australian Grand Prix, which has led to Max Verstappen, the man of the moment, the man who does not put a foot wrong. He did put a foot wrong and then went off in the grass, but then he had a 10-second advantage on Lewis Hamilton, and he wins. Max Verstappen wins his 37th, and Red Bull's first podium after 2011. No, you can't, Formula 1 is such a fast sport that a year almost makes it look like, well, they would have won every race, right, till now, but that's the beauty of it. Mercedes domination started in 2012, and that's what kind of caught them out. And that's what's happened here as well. But here Red Bull just did an absolute amazing one, or I would say Max Verstappen leading from the start, but he didn't lead from the start. The Mercedes caught him, George Russell caught him, Hamilton caught him, but he slowly tiptoed his way back into this, back into the game. But it was what was interesting. What was interesting to also see how it kind of panned out. Perez started from the pit from the pit lane. He finished a fighting P5. That was amazing to watch. That was just his moves, his overtakes. It was just pure class to watch, and like we just dreamed. If the camera just stayed on Perez, of course, when he had 4 seconds to catch up on Norris, and then he does it in 4 laps, and that tells you the pace. But then the car itself was amazing. The hard tires switching on pretty quickly, and all drivers going into it after Leclerc, shunting in a way, right? He basically, it was a DNF. And Albon as well, he went deep and he beached it. That brought out the red flag immediately, and they all had new tires, or all new hards in a way. And that's what the tire that everybody went on to until the second and the third red flag in a way, or because that's when the teams were like, okay, now we need to push. So a lot kind of happened in the lap 54 when Magnussen, very strange for him to kind of bang his left rear or right rear into the wall with his suspension then broken, the tires flying, brings out the safety car, brings out the red flag. With 6 laps left, and then they had 3 laps of pure racing after the safety car went in, and it's all happening at 56, 57, 58 laps total, and we're at 54 laps, and can we race, and everybody's on a soft tire, and then it happens. It's almost like 57th lap, right? So after the safety car goes in 2 laps, and you're like, okay, let's go. And it's a standing start. It's absolute carnage at the beginning. Sainz taps Alonso. A lot of tapping around. But then the biggest loser of that was Alpine, who just kind of took each other out of Pierre Gasly going on the right without looking onto to where Ocon was. But jumping again, because this was an exciting race. It was a little mouth-watering for me all along with the way the race went. Perez fought back from the pit lane to finish P5. A good race for Mercedes in a way, because Mercedes had a DNF of Russell who had a PU engine unit failure. Apparently, the fire from his Mercedes didn't look good, and he had to stop on track, which brought a virtual safety car. Hamilton finished P2. He was under a lot of pressure from Aston Martin's Alonso, who finished P3, and Stroll, who took P4 after Ferrari's Charles Leclerc was out pretty early in the race, but then Carlos Sainz handed 5-second penalty while sitting in the pit lane when after the third restart, or just like after the third restart, which was a rolling start, not a standing start. And when you have that, the whole field is bunched so tightly together that the 5 seconds basically means he didn't score points, and he at one point was P3 after the second restart under the carnage, and the first sector time, which the FIA then reverted back to and said no, they're not closed any sectors, and that was kind of like weird in my mind. I'm like, what's really happening? And how is this kind of being in a way also allowed, right? Like, Sainz was in a good position in my mind overall, but then it didn't happen the way it happened. Like, it was a little weird for me to see that. For Ferrari's race to forget, Fernando was having a pretty big backache. I think he will now have a headache as well, along with his terrible back, and maybe both need some time. And it's good. It's good to know we have some time. But as I said, Alpine crashed out after that 50. They were running really well. Gasly was in around P6, and Ocon was P10. So both were scoring points before this carnage that happened in the lap 57th. AlphaTauri, Tsunoda should be happy. He was about to finish P11 again, and that would have a record of itself, like consecutive finishing of P11 in one position, not the podium, not the top step, but then P11, he just made it his own, but then he finished P10 after Sainz was handed that penalty, so that was good for him. Vries, no, yeah, it just he at the restart he tapped, so like he was tapped by Sargeant. Like, Sargeant just went through in the second restart. He just couldn't brake, and both were out as well. So I don't know, De Vries, I feel there would have been better chances for other drivers to get a step up than De Vries, but then De Vries gets his chance at Formula One. Not been impressive at all. I think that they can all AlphaTauri drivers can hide behind the performance issues that they have with the car, but that is what it is. Alfa Romeo, good points for Alfa Romeo. Jogo News finishing P9 and Bottas P11. They were dead lost unless this carnage would have happened. So good points for them, and good kind of some motivation and something for them to look at, to build towards. Williams, unlucky, very unlucky. Albon beached it, went really wide. Yeah, just kind of locked up, and there was a race over for him pretty quickly. Sargeant, again, he was nowhere. Williams were not fighting for any positions throughout the race, and Sargeant at the end of it was kind of, he again had a massive lockup. It just wouldn't turn. Went straight into De Vries, and both were out. Haas of Nico Hülkenberg will be happy. He finished P7. Before the carnage, he was P4, and I think Gunther would have wanted those points, but then FIA decided to go back a lap because no sector was done. I'm very sure there's going to be some rule books thrown a lot at the FIA now to kind of appeal the decision that they made. But Haas should be happy. They take the point. They finished P7. But the biggest winners from all of this has to be the McLarens, who now have finished double point finish, the first double point finish for McLaren. First points on the board for McLaren, P6, and Pierre, the local boy, the local hero, Oscar Piastri. Give it up for him. You have to. The man, he has the boy for now, but the man who has faced it all, from the last year's contract drama to now coming in and actually scoring points. That's just lovely to watch and see. I'm absolutely thrilled by the reception he got, by how hard he drove. Like, we could see some really nice moves and driving from him from the DRS train that he was stuck in with both Ocon and Perez fighting back from behind. But that's the race. Like, McLaren take the point, the first point for McLaren get the first points, basically first of their many, I'm hoping, to be able to kind of move or kind of know where this ends. But what does this mean after this race? It's like McLaren is not dead last, but where are they? Where will this kind of lead? Where will this leave the McLarens in a way, right? So it's pretty interesting to know that McLaren right now are not dead last. That's a good papaya story. They're P5. They're fifth in the constructors right now, with Red Bull leading the charge with 123 points. Aston Martin with 165, and Mercedes 56, with Ferrari fourth on 26 points. McLaren 12 because of this double point finish that they had today. Alpine, they could have just, it's just weird to see Alpine there on P6. They just took each other out. P7 is Haas with 7 points, Alfa Romeo 6, Alfa Tauri 1, and Williams 1. What is interesting to see, if you compare this with last year's points, Ferrari were the one to beat, but then Ferrari just lost track here. But also, if you look at the year behind, Aston Martin at the end of round 3 had scored 0 points, and they're now sitting P2. That's the biggest jump. That's the biggest jump that we have seen. But yeah, that's how Formula One goes sometimes. You know, you get the results, they start flowing, you get the momentum, and you build it out. Alonso hype train still continues. I just love the way they're going about their business, Aston Martin, and the way they're kind of working towards the race. It's amazing to watch this. It's amazing to see. Yeah, there is a P2. We don't have the normal winners of all the constructors, or like the top 4 has been shaken up, and the bottom as well. Crazy race. I'm very sure Carlos Sainz won't be happy. He was fuming that no, and I felt for him, because if I should have waited for the race to get over, because of this 5-second, everybody bunched up together, and it was pretty clear that Carlos Sainz was not going to have any chance of scoring any points to this race. Ferrari's race was like just gone over. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this race? Were you watching this race? How did you feel about this race? And of course, like, McLaren, was this one-off because they got lucky with all the craziness and they just saved themselves because of the back, and they just came back around? Or do you feel there is some momentum? And also Mercedes, they made a big step up, P2 and P3, starting before the reliability hit. We have a month break, 4 weeks from now. Azerbaijan, the Baku Grand Prix will be on. It's a break for Easter because we don't have the Chinese Grand Prix. That's one of the reasons why this gap has opened. There is no restriction of not working. All teams will be working flat out, and I think a lot of new improved parts will come in Baku. So that will be a very interesting thing to see in Azerbaijan, how the teams kind of fare and move forward from here. Let me know in the comment section below what do you think. Do like this video, do share with your friends. Let me know what they think about this video. Do you want me to do similar content more, or change it a bit, make it more rusty in some sense? And do like this video, and I will catch you in the next one.